So recently I was having a conversation about books. Shocker, I know. What else would I talk about though? And the conversation I had was about rereading books. And it was kind of spawned by my. Alright, I'm gonna confess that I had a little bit of a book dork spasm last weekend. And in a fit of joy, I took all of my books from my shelves, my trunk, the random nooks and crannies that I hide them in, like right there, and took the titles, the authors, whether or not I read them yet, and if they're hardcover or softcover, and then the Goodreads link, and put it all into an Excel spreadsheet so that I have a computerized documentation of all the books that I own. That was a really good way to spend Saturday night for me. But in the midst of doing this, I had a little bit of a panic, like, oh my god, what if something happens and I don't get to read all of these books before I die? Call me morbid, but when you're reading books like Game of Thrones, everyone dies at the end of the book, you have to think about it occasionally. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to be more efficient in my reading so that this doesn't happen, and I'm going to reread less. And then a couple days later, I was having a conversation about rereading, and some people I know just don't do it, and they don't like doing it, and they very rarely do. I have some strong opinions. First of all, I reread Harry Potter about every year. It's something that you've been reading since you were in second grade, and if it is your security blanket, or if it is that book that you tuck under your pillow so that you don't have bad dreams at night, I don't recommend doing that with, like, the fourth book, because that one's kind of scary. The first one actually gave me nightmares when I was younger, because I wasn't expecting the head to be on the back of the head. I recommend rereading Harry Potter. When everyone's like, I don't want to, like, I know them already, I can just watch the movies. First of all, movies are not that good. Not compared to the books. Second of all, Harry Potter is one of those series where when you reread it, even if you just do it once, you will find a whole nother book of stuff that you didn't realize the first time you read it. Don't believe me? Here's your challenge. If you think you know everything that happens in Harry Potter, every little detail, if you think that you can do this book, this ultimate Harry Potter quiz book, without rereading, answer me this. What does Dumbledore's chocolate frog card say? So, other books that I enjoy rereading are things like, right now, or this summer, I've reread a lot of Tamora Pierce's books. She writes a lot of, YA fiction, fantasy fiction. I read those when I was in middle school, and now I'm post-grad, and I'm rereading them. And it's actually really fun, because A, they're easy, you can bust through a lot of them. Second of all, they're entertaining. They don't have this really, really rigid gender structure that we're seeing a lot in new fantasy now. There is some gender structure, but she has this reverence for really strong, really independent women in her books. And I love that. I read them in middle school, and it was a really big positive influence on me. And now, post-grad, with my degrees in psychology and sociology and queer studies and race, culture, power, very aware of gender issues, it's fun reading these books and rereading them again and having a different perspective on them than I did when I was younger. And looking back and being like, look at how these impacted my life positively. You let a lot of time pass. You pick up a book like when I picked up City of Bones, and I'm rereading it, and I was blown away by how much I remembered from this book that I read in middle school. And it was very unsettling, because the entire time I'm reading it, and I'm like mildly paranoid, because I'm like, I remember this. I think I remember this. Does this happen? And then it's that weird vortex in your brain where you're like, I can't tell if this is actually what happens, but I'm gonna think that it is, and I have no idea. And then it happens, you're like, oh, thank God I'm not crazy. As you're sitting there, trying to figure out what to do, what to read, where to go next, how to budget your time appropriately so you can read the maximum number of books, I would recommend rereading a couple books. Sometimes you just want to read something new, and you should do that. But the reminder is that sometimes books that you've already read can feel like new again. And if I haven't convinced you to reread, let me throw down this fun fact for you, because then this will convince you. Christopher Lee, who plays Count Dooku in Star Wars, that's all well and good, but more importantly, he plays Saruman in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He rereads the trilogy every single year. Sure, he knew Tolkien, so, you're kind of obligated to reread something, especially when that author gave you, special permission to play one of his characters. But he reads it every single year. The man is old and has an amazing voice. If you're not sure if you should reread, think to yourself, what would Christopher Lee do?